Hi my faves, welcome to another cooking video. Today we're going to be making Sapa Egusi soup. Egusi soup is also called melon soup, and Sapa just pretty much means, budget egusi soup. And I tried to keep this one under 2,000 naira, which is just $1 and a couple of cents. And this was me at the market, purchasing everything that I could buy with my 2,000 naira, and I was so shocked because I usually buy in bulk. I don't think I realized how unnecessarily pricey things were, especially onions. But anyways, I'm back home. I'm done buying. I got that tiny cup of egusi for 600. I got the knorr cubes for 200, black pepper for 100, crayfish for 100 naira, this tiny ugu leaves for 200. I begged for this pomo to be sold to me for 200. Same for my fish, but eventually got that for 400. Onions, I got this bulb onions for 200. Now I couldn't get palm oil, and I'll just assume that everybody has palm oil at home. Okay, now we're just going to start by boiling our pomo first of all, just to soften it. And I added some onions and one knorr cube in there, and once it was nice and soft, I took the pomo out, and I was going to be using the pomo stock to to mix my egusi. As you can see in this clean bowl, I just put my 600 naira very expensive egusi and some of the pomo water, and just gave this a very good stir until at least you could take out the lumps, and whatever tiny things you have in there will just be the onions from the boil. And once I was done giving this a good stir, I set aside and then started with my soup. This oil I had tried to buy in the market, when I still thought everything was going to be under 2k, and they told me that the tiniest bottle was going to be 800. The Lord is with us. Anyways, in a clean tiny pot, I put my palm oil, I put my onions, and then I'm just putting the egusi paste that I made with the egusi, blended egusi, and my pomo stock. I would really come back to show you guys how I would ideally make egusi soup for, the house and all the other things that I would put in here. But keep watching. I hope you're enjoying this one. Once I was done putting the egusi, I then added some of my crayfish as well as my black pepper and my smoked fish, just so that everything could at least just release their own flavors into the soup, since we're relying on just this fish to give the soup a good flavor. And then once I had let this fry for about 5 minutes, I came back and shook the pot. Notice that I didn't stir. I usually wouldn't stir my egusi, just to avoid it burning, one, and then to also give it the lumpy texture, which I love very much. Okay, once that gave that a good stir, covered, allowed to fry for another 5 minutes, and then came back, stirred again, and then went in with my pomo, the rest of my crayfish. Also added some water, just so it could release at least there could be some sort of juice in the soup. Gave that a good mix. Also added my bouillon cube, the second one of it. If you realize, I didn't even use salt for this soup. There was no need for the salt. I didn't even have to use my regular sazon because egusi in itself is somewhat oily and salty. Anyways, once that process was done, I covered, allowed to simmer for about 3 minutes, and then I added my ugu. The ugu was frozen because I had to throw that in the freezer for a bit, just to give it a bit more texture as well. Gave this a good stir, and my soup was as good as ready at this point. I just allowed it to cook for another 2 minutes, and this was what we had. Egusi on a budget. Trust me, this soup was very nice. As I didn't have enough money for swallow or rice, now we'll just leak the soup like that, Abby. Just joking. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until my next video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.